This video is for employees in the civil service retirement system. It explains the CSRS retirement eligibility requirements and shows how you can estimate what your own CSRS retirement benefit will be depending on how much service you have and the age you retire. CSRS provides what is called a defined benefit. This type of benefit is based on a formula that uses your average salary and your total creditable service. This includes your federal civilian, active duty military service if you've paid for it, as well as your sick leave balance at retirement. To be eligible for a retirement benefit from CSRS, most employees must be at least 55 years of age with at least 30 or 60 years of age with at least 20 years of creditable civilian and paid for military service. CSRS law enforcement officers must have at least 20 years of creditable LEO service and be at least 50 years of age to retire. Note that your sick leave is not included in your eligibility determination. Additionally, LEOs must retire at age 57 if they have 20 or more years of LEO service. If they haven't yet reached 20 years of LEO service at 57, they can continue to work in a LEO position but must retire as soon as they reach 20 years. Agency heads can authorize a law enforcement officer to work until age 60 if the continued service is in the public interest, and the President can permit continued LEO employment beyond age 60. Regular CSRS annuities are calculated in two parts that are added together to yield a basic annuity amount. You get 16.25% of your average salary for your first 10 years of creditable service. You also get an additional 2% for each year over 10, and your unused sick leave credit is included here. So a CSRS employee with 30 years of service receives a basic CSRS annuity that is a percentage of the average salary. 16.25% plus 2% times 20, which is 40%, equals 56.25% of the average salary for 30 years of service. The more generous formula for law enforcement officers is compensation for the physical and psychological demands of that position. LEO annuities are calculated using a different two-part formula. The first part is 2.5% of the average salary for each of the first 20 years of law enforcement service. Then there's the second part, which is 2% for each of the remaining years of creditable service, whether it's law enforcement or non-law enforcement, including credit for the sick leave balance. So a LEO retiring after 30 years with 20 years of creditable law enforcement service would receive 50% of the average salary for those 20 years of LEO service and 20% of the average salary for the remaining 10 years of service, for a total of 70% of the average salary. For a regular CSRS employee with 30 years of total federal service receiving 56.25% of an average salary of $80,000, the basic annuity benefit would be $45,000. A CSRS law enforcement officer retiring with 30 years of service, including at least 20 years that were law enforcement, would receive 70% of the average salary for a $56,000 basic benefit. Now, if you're a CSRS offset employee, you're in a slightly different situation. With 30 years of total federal service, you'll receive the same percentage, 56.25%, of the average salary as the regular CSRS employee, but your annuity will be reduced at age 62 by a percentage of your estimated Social Security benefit. That offset is calculated as a fraction of your age 62 Social Security estimate based on your total years under CSRS offset divided by Social Security's work history constant of 40. If you work for 10 years under CSRS offset, the offset factor will be 10 over 40 or 25%. If you work for 20 years under CSRS offset, it'll be 20 over 40 or 50% of your estimated Social Security benefit. In this example, assume 10 years and an estimated Social Security benefit of $18,900 a year. The offset would be 25% of that amount, or $4,725. Now, you may choose not to apply for Social Security until you're older than 62 in order to get a higher Social Security benefit. But the offset from your CSRS annuity will begin at age 62 based upon your age 62 Social Security estimate, regardless. If you're a CSRS employee and work for 41 years and 11 months of total federal service, you'll receive the so-called maximum annuity of 80% of your average salary. So an $80,000 average salary would bring in a basic maximum annuity benefit of $64,000. Unused sick leave credit would be added on top of that 80%. So if you retired with a year's worth of sick leave, 2,087 hours of sick leave converts to a full year, your basic annuity would be 82% of $80,000, or $65,600. CSRS law enforcement officers will reach 80% after 35 years of federal service. As with regular CSRS computations, they also receive credit for sick leave, which could raise that annuity percentage over the 80% maximum of average salary. Survivor annuity benefits can be a very important part of your total retirement package. In fact, under current law, if you're married at retirement, you're required to elect a full survivor annuity for your spouse. If you don't want to elect a full survivor annuity, you may elect a partial survivor annuity or none at all, but you have to include a consent form under these circumstances signed by your spouse and notarized with your retirement application. Also, if you are married at retirement, you must include a copy of your marriage certificate with your application to retire. The default election is a full survivor election. So if you're married and elect anything less than a maximum survivor annuity, you have to include that consent form with your application. And if you don't, OPM will delay processing your case to give you a chance to furnish a completed consent form. And if they don't receive one, they will then process your case with a full survivor election reduction in your annuity computation. And they will do this even if you indicate that you want to leave no survivor benefit or a partial survivor benefit on your retirement application. The cost to you of a full survivor annuity election is a reduction of approximately 10% to your basic annuity. The payoff for your surviving spouse is a monthly annuity worth 55% of your own unreduced annuity. A $45,000 unreduced basic annuity will provide a surviving spouse with $24,750 a year. This amount, as with your annuity, will be increased with cost of living adjustments each year. If your spouse will not require a full survivor annuity, though, you can elect a smaller annuity, and it will cost you less if you do so. But again, you have to include a notarized consent form signed by your spouse with your retirement application. If you and your spouse agree to less than a full survivor benefit, CSRS allows you to choose a basis to be used in computing the survivor benefit you wish. Now, the basis is, simply stated, an amount of dollars smaller than your full basic annuity. For example, if you elected $20,000 instead of the full $45,000 annuity as the basis for the survivor annuity, you'd provide a survivor benefit of $11,000, and the reduction to your own annuity in this case would be about $2,000. CSRS Children's survivor benefits do not require an election on your part. If you die and leave behind an eligible child, the child will receive a monthly benefit. The eligible child is one who is dependent on you, unmarried, and under age 18. Or if between the ages of 18 and 22, a full-time student at an institution of higher learning. Also, a child over age 18 would continue to be eligible if he was or she was disabled prior to age 18 and the disabling condition is expected to last for at least a year. The amount of the children's benefit is not subject to computation based on your salary or annuity. It is an amount fixed each year by Congress, and the same benefit is paid to all child survivors of deceased CSRS employees and annuitants. For 2014, the rates are $501 for an orphan who has lost one parent and $602 a month for an orphan who has lost both parents. To qualify for a disability annuity under CSRS, the employee must be disabled such that he cannot successfully perform his current job. OPM makes this determination based on records submitted by the employee and pays about 40% of the average salary in annuity. CSRS offset employees who apply for a CSRS disability annuity must also apply for Social Security disability benefits. That's about it for the eligibility rules and the computation formula for your CSRS retirement, whether you are regular CSRS, CSRS offset, or CSRS LEO. In addition to your basic annuity, however, your total retirement benefits package may also include health insurance under the Federal Employee Health Benefits Program, life insurance under the Federal Employee Group Life Insurance Program, Social Security, especially if you are CSRS offset, long-term care under federal long-term care insurance, dental and or vision insurance under the Federal Employee Dental and Vision Insurance Program, as well as Medicare A and B if elected after age 65. To be eligible to continue your coverage under the Federal Employee Health Benefits Program, or FEHB, you must have 5 years of continuous coverage as of the date of your separation for retirement. You must be retiring on an immediate annuity, and you must be covered on the date of separation for retirement. TRICARE coverage counts towards the 5-year requirement for FEHB, but employees must have coverage under FEHB on the day they retire. After retirement, premiums will be the same as for employees, and retirees can make the same changes during open season as employees can. To be eligible to continue your coverage under the Federal Employee Life Insurance Program, or FEGLI, you must have 5 years of continuous coverage as of the date of your separation for retirement and be retiring on an immediate annuity. If you have long-term care and want it to continue, you'll have to notify your carrier in advance of your retirement date so you can pay your premiums directly to them while you are on interim pay. If you have dental and or vision coverage under FED-VIP, you can continue it into retirement. There's no 5-year requirement for eligibility here. In fact, you can even pick it up after you retire. For Medicare A and B, you will be eligible at age 65 and can sign up for coverage at that time. If you retire after turning 65, you'll have an 8-month window to sign up without penalty. The OPM website and your FEHB provider's website have information describing the relative advantages of picking up Medicare in addition to maintaining coverage under FEHB. Well, that's it. Your CSRS benefits in a nutshell. If you really want to take control of your retirement, this video is a good first step, but there's a lot more to do. You have to attend pre-retirement seminars. You should consult with your Human Resources office about your benefits. You should also request or compute annuity estimates for yourself using different dates and elections. Also, and possibly most importantly, familiarize yourself with the information available on websites such as opm.gov, tsp.gov, Social Security's website at ssa.gov, and of course Medicare.gov. Retirement does take planning, but as a federal employee, your potential benefits are excellent. The surest path to a good retirement is good preparation. Good luck.